Hello, good morning. I was closely listening to your introduction, and I did hear Europos Komisios, so I guess this is my key. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Warm greetings from grey and cloudy Brussels. And first of all, big thanks to the Ministry of Transport and Communications for having me as a speaker. Yes, as was just mentioned, I think everybody is excited when we look into the future of transport, and certainly digitalization will be an essential component of our future mobility. And certainly with the pandemics, we were reminded of the importance of a functioning logistics and transport network to keep our economies and societies up and running. Indeed, again, good reminder in the last year or so that our economy really truly depends on sustainable, efficient, and cost competitive logistic change. Also, of course, transport will be key to reach our objectives of the Green Deal and of the Paris Agreement. So goes without saying, really making transport sector more resilient, digital, and sustainable is a matter of economic and political priority for all of us. So what are we doing here in the Commission, as we are in charge at the European level for the regulatory framework? I'll guide you through various areas that we cover in the next few minutes. And of course, our smart and sustainable mobility strategy that we adopted last December outlines our vision, targets, and initiatives to shape transport and logistics in the coming decades. So, in line with the strategy, it is of course not only about curbing emissions, it needs to go hand in hand with enhancing our competitiveness, reinforcing the single market, and certainly create new opportunities for European businesses to flourish. So as we all know, multimodal transport is environmentally sustainable, and we all strive to reinforce it. In this area, electronic freight transport regulation is one of our main initiatives to reach the goal of a paperless transport by 2030 across the European Union. It will lead to the establishment by 2025 at the latest of a Europe-wide common environment for electronic freight information exchange. And this optimization of the transport system will be based on smart cargo and vehicles, on automated transport nodes, and automated decision support and decision making. And this, of course, is all a part of longer-term digital transformation of the sector. So, of course, we will need adequate infrastructure to improve the uptake of more sustainable transport modes. And in this context, we have the TEN-T policy, which will integrate and interconnect all transport modes, including smart components, and thus optimizing the entire system. This policy will really go hand in hand with the revision of the ITS directive. And when we revise it, we will look at increasing interoperability and cross-border continuity of ITS services, at establishing effective coordination and monitoring mechanisms between stakeholders, and solve issues related to data availability and data sharing. Let's go further to 22, when we will present a new proposal to revise the Combined Transport Directive in order to support multimodal freight operations. And this revision will increase the ambition and scope, and will certainly incorporate new ideas and technologies. We will also propose an initiative to establish a European framework for harmonized accounting of transport and logistics-related greenhouse gas emissions, called Count Emissions EU. This initiative, which is planned for the end of next year, should allow for reliable measurement of greenhouse gas emissions and enable a fair comparison of different transport options in the multimodal perspective based on their greenhouse gas emissions performance. When it comes to future technologies, we are also taking some important steps to support automation, and in particular, road transport automation, as it can truly deliver a viable alternative to private vehicle ownership. Our ambition, our vision, is to deploy automated mobility at large scale by 2030. 2030. So certainly the next years will see incredible transformation of the mobility system that we know today. For this ambition to become a reality, we need to be able to share and use more data between different mobility and transport actors, as well as across sectors. And this exactly is the objective of the development of a common European mobility data space, which is part of the European data strategy adopted earlier this year. In this context, let me draw attention to a very important forum, Digital Transport and Logistics Forum, and I hope quite a few of you already participate. This is a stakeholders expert group set up by the Commission, and they really have an important role here. The forum is working on establishing a common framework to foster interoperability and transparency in data sharing between all types of supply chain stakeholders, and in particular when we talk about business-to-business environment. Our goal is to present towards the end of next year a set of technical specifications, implementation guidelines, and proposals for establishing the necessary governance structure. Finally, let me also turn to our cities, as mobility in them is being transformed in front of our eyes. In this regard, in December, we will present the new urban mobility initiative, and this will set the framework conditions and actions to support zero emission and sustainable urban logistics and last mile deliveries. Our objective is also to accelerate the deployment of zero emission solutions that are already available and that we see emerging on a daily basis around us. And these of course include green delivery methods like cargo bikes, automated deliveries, and very soon also drones, better use of inland waterways into cities, and multimodal consolidation centers. Of course, all these favorable regulatory and market conditions that we are striving and working together with our stakeholders to establish will not be sufficient. What we also need will be direct investment in development of new technologies. Of course, research and innovation will heavily influence the speed at which the twin green and digital transitions are taking place. For instance, to shape our future mobility, we need to develop and validate new disruptive technologies and services, such as autonomous vehicles and sustainable long-haul and urban logistics operation. So how can we, from European level, support this? We have already funded 6.5 billion euros worth of research and innovation projects under the past Research and Innovation Framework Program, Horizon 2020. And let me also remind you that Horizon 2020 is the largest R&I fund in the world. We have managed to secure even increased funding for the next budgetary period, 21 to 27, and we will drive this research of innovative and sustainable transport technologies and services with another 7 billion euros in the next period. We have a dedicated cluster within the new program Horizon Europe called Climate, Energy and Mobility, and it will cover full transport chain with a multimodal systemic approach inherent in it for both passenger and freight mobility transport. We aim to improve competitiveness, climate performance, and energy efficiency of different transport modes. And of course, just as an example, one of the main targets will be to reduce emissions of road vehicles, aircraft, and vessels. To develop and implement a shared, coherent, and long-term European research and innovation agenda, we are bringing together actors from the Italian value chain in different partnerships. Partnerships between member states and different industrial sectors with the R&I community. Let me just name a few: zero-emission waterborne transport, clean hydrogen towards zero-emission road transport, and connected cooperative and automated mobility. In addition to research and innovation, of course, we will need a lot of investment in, for example, infrastructure. And here we have programs like Connecting Europe Facility, which will have 26 billion euros over the next 7-year budget period. And here we really are looking forward to cooperate with a number of you and to finance your valuable projects. We are also, what we have at our disposal in this budgetary period is also the very new fund, Recovery and Resilience Fund. And here we have already received almost all, only one is missing, I think, so far, national programs, and we are encouraged to see that large parts of this recovery and resilience national programs is already dedicated to transport, some 20% on average, 15 to 20% on average. So here we are also looking at an important tool at our disposal to finance various projects, infrastructure building in transport. Let's also look beyond our borders, as transport by default is international. And this success of our ambition to make transport sector more sustainable, resilient, and connected will also depend on our involvement with our international partners. Connecting the EU with our neighbors and associated partners to the East has already so far been key driver of our overall relations with these countries. And in that regard, transport cooperation and the Eastern Partnership and the Northern Dimension is an important pillar of EU's external transport policy. Our cooperation under the Eastern Partnership has deepened to reflect key concerns for the future of the transport sector, which needs to contribute to sustainable and smart mobility and ensure societal benefits. So our joint focus with our Eastern Partnership friends is on connectivity, where we have identified 3 key areas of engagement. We need to ensure the implementation of the extended TEN-T network to the Eastern Partnership. We also closely collaborate in important area of road safety. And of course, as I just said, transport needs to be sustainable and smart, and our sustainable and smart mobility strategy will also be reflected by our Eastern partners, with priority being given to promoting sustainable urban mobility and low emissions fuels. It is also true that digitalization has the potential not only to deliver sustainable transport solutions, but also to facilitate trade and transport flows between partner countries and the EU by reducing administrative burdens related to transit proceedings at the borders and facilitate enforcement. So in conclusion, let me just reiterate that the importance of our transport sector for our societies is immense, and this provides all of us with a strong mandate to be proactive in tackling challenges ahead of us. We, of course, can be pleased with the direction set for the European mobility in the coming years, but we really now need a common effort of policymakers, businesses, research communities, and innovation companies to make our vision a reality. And it is really for all of us to show we are up to the task and that we can all together deliver solutions for a sustainable, digital, and resilient transport. And I also share your optimism that we will achieve this. So in this spirit of cooperation, I really thank you all, and I wish you a very fruitful discussion and a successful forum. Thank you very much and take care.
Maja, thank you very much for your time and for good news for our sector. And we see the Horizon 2020 will help us to be success. Thank you.